So, and then while you're looking that up, the idea that two different stories can have a similar, like he let out a bird. Okay, that's like, okay, that could be a coincidence. But when it's specific to the raven and the dove, and you're in a boat and a flood just happened and God just wiped
Worldwide
everybody
flood.
off the earth, those are so specific that the
Mm.
odds of two different stories telling this story this way is just impossible.
This is just one thing, by the way. We got like a lot of stuff. So you see here, so we have the Epic of Gilgamesh that happens, it's written between 2100 to 1200 BCE. But then you have Genesis, which is written 600 to 500 BCE, and you've got this 600-year gap. So you got 600 years between when Genesis was written and when the Epic of Gilgamesh, what I just read, was written. And you can just see, I could list off the things that you find in the Epic of Gilgamesh. So the creation of humans in both stories, humans are shaped from the earth. In Genesis, God forms Adam from dust of the ground.
I'm glad you have Genesis and Exodus correctly dated to 5th and 6th century, because people try, 800s, no way. Show me one place, show me one person citing Genesis in the 8th century or 7th century. Like nobody's it's not mentioned anywhere. Like nobody's talking about it. Then it starts showing up. And I'm glad that you had that, because I've seen people, even skeptics, that will grant that it's in the 700s maybe. Like, no, it's not. It's not.
I know, and
you know what I mean.
And I know, and the other thing too is like, and you got like the difference between like the Exodus, that actually like the Bible dates the Exodus, and then like when it was written, when the story was written down, and you've got this 1300-year gap, or 700-year gap, and then but the thing here with Proverbs,
it gets even worse than that for the Exodus. Exodus. So the Exodus, people try to say that it's the Hyksos. The Hyksos explosion's in 1500 BCE. 1300 is when the story in the Bible lines up, if you do the math. But what happened in 1300 BCE is the opposite. In fact, Pharaoh Ramses conquers Israel in 1300 BCE. So that would mean that Moses and the Israelites went into the promised land and then got conquered again by Egypt, but the Bible forgot to mention that. But you want to know why? Because that would be like, what's up with this promise that here's your land? Oh, by the way, you're going to get conquered one more time, and then I'm going to make another promise. That wouldn't pan out right. So that whole history is gone. It doesn't even exist. They don't even say the Pharaoh's name, by the way. So it's not. It's not.
Our first reference of Israel as a group of people is the Merneptah seal, and that is still like long after the last strokes of the Epic of Gilgamesh have even been.
But even that might be. I've heard scholars, and I think this makes more sense, that it's not Israel, it's Jezreel.
Oh, okay.
If you look at that text, and by the way, Jezreel and Israel would look the same in that in that font, or not font, in that script. Sorry, that very script. If you write Jezreel and Israel, it looks the same. And it's possible that Israel even got its name from the city of Jezreel. Maybe I'm not. Don't quote me on that. But the reason why I'm saying that is because the text is naming cities. It's going, here's this city, here's this city, here's this city. Why would they just throw a kingdom of Israel in there? It's just naming cities. And Jezreel, we know Jezreel is an ancient city from that time period. Now here's the kicker. Why would Israel randomly be mentioned in this one text and then never again for another 500 years?
That's a good point. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that.
Those scholars, I don't have the names on the top of my head, but I should do a video on this. I can show you. There are some scholars who think, what's his name? Israel Finkelstein's one of them. Israel Finkelstein, who's a brilliant expert.
He wrote the book Jesus, right?
He thinks it's like 900, 800 BCE when Israel shows up.
That's okay. Well, it's not just the Genesis with the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's not just that one part of the flood that's taken. Like the fact that there is a worldwide flood. It's for one, it's the earliest story that we have. One of the earliest stories that we have, the Epic of Gilgamesh. But the creations of humans is the same. Like they're both are formed from the dust of the earth. A goddess, Aruru, creates Enkidu from clay. the existence of the garden. So both narratives mention a garden with sacred trees. In Genesis, it's the Garden of Eden with the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. In Gilgamesh, there's this sacred cedar tree, a forest, guarded by the demon Humbaba. Both stories, there's serpent and immortality. So like you have to like.
Wait, what's the name of the demon?
Humbaba.
Humbaba, huh? Hold on a second.
But
No way.
Well, hang on, just to pump the brakes. You have to remember too, like we're looking back at all this stuff, just assuming that they had the same perspective of what we have today.
I gotta show something real quick before we move on to the next thing. This is just the Wikipedia page, okay? I get it. Oh, you're showing Wikipedia, but I just want to let you know this is what the text looks like, okay? So you're looking at that. Is that Israel? How do you know? And look, if you actually go down, it actually tells you there are some people who thinks this is. Look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, or this might just be 3 or 4. But anyways, you have multiple experts saying it's Jezreel. It's Jezreel. So I'm going with that. Wow. I think there's more. I think it's not just be. You could say I'm being biased right now, sure. But logically, it does not make sense that Israel would just randomly pop up in a list of cities and then not show up again for another 500 years. It just doesn't make sense logically. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I think this makes the most sense. All right, go ahead.
I was just going to say, someone's asked, where does the timeline come from? So I created that timeline as a non-historian, but I used I'm not releasing it or anything. I used a bunch of different books and to get the best dates for the timeline. But fact check me by all means with this timeline, because and I try to be as conservative as possible. So you see here how it says like Proverbs. Let me just skip over to a sec. See how it says Proverbs. The reason I got dots here is because like it is so heated whether or not when Proverbs was written, because some people say no, it was written by Solomon in 1000 BCE, but then people are like, well, but then there are parts that are like, well, no, it was definitely written at 500 BC. So it's like there's different parts. But the point of it is, even if you take the most conservative times, it's still 200 years since the instructions of Merneptah. Merneptah. I always get that name wrong, but which we'll go into in a little bit. But yeah, it's just really wild. But even looking back, like you look back at like you have the underworld and eternity and all that stuff. No, like these are taken from other religions of the area. Like it's not like this like divisible line. Like there are belief systems that like kind of that all get kind of meshed together. Like when the Buddha came, and he just assumed reincarnation was a thing because that's the culture that he was brought up in. He didn't which to me points to, thinking that maybe the Buddha didn't have anything, super amazing to say because he was just a product of his time. But like he just was brought up and goes, yep, reincarnation is a thing because he's in the environment in which reincarnation was a thing. Like it's not he didn't question it. So you got to look back and go, at this kind of stuff and go, where are they getting their influences? Like it's all kind of meshed together. It's not just like one big. Israel has one belief and this other groups have other beliefs, and yeah, it all kind of combines at one stage. Because like even if you see here, like even if you see like there was no Israel until this first mention, like and unless we're talking about
if let's just, for the sake of argument, let's say that those scholars who think it's Jezreel are right, which I think they are. I think logically it just makes sense because we're looking at this like, why would it just randomly show up here and then be gone for another? Okay, let's just say they're correct. The next mention of Israel is what, in the 9th century BCE, right?
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's crazy. So like way down.
And that's why I think the Jezreel makes the most sense. And here, like, let's just put our thinking caps on. I know you think I'm biased against Christianity. I know you. Fine, but let's just think about this for a second. We have archaeology of Jezreel from that time period. Jezreel existed. If you look at what the Merneptah, let me pull this up again. The Merneptah Stele. Can you guys see this? Is this big enough to see? When we read the text, okay. Let's read the text. It says. I'm using Wikipedia, but whatever. All right. The princes are prostrate, saying peace. All right. Princes, right? Not one raises his head against among the 9 bows. 9 bows? What is he talking about? Desolation for Jenuhu. Hati is pacified. Plundered is Pa Canaan. Carried off is Ashkelon. These are all cities. Seized upon is Getzer. Yanoam is made not. Why would Israel randomly show up in a list of cities? Israel, like, wouldn't he say, Israel, the nation, I conquered them too? You know what I mean? Like, he's naming cities, so it makes more sense that this would be Jezreel's laid to waste. You know, the question I'm asking now myself is, I wonder if we have evidence of Jezreel being laid to waste by the Egyptians around this time. That would be the slam dunk. That would be game over. That would be not just we're done with this Stele after that. If someone can show that, I don't know. I'm not an archaeologist, not an expert. I can't say that, but I do. Maybe I'm biased. I do lean towards these 3 scholars down here. Who, let's see, Asafelt that's from 1965. So they were already coming at this early on. 1990, Margalith and Strahan in 1896, and then I think Israel Finkelstein's one of these people who think that this is not Israel either. But I don't know. Anyways, I just wanted to show you that. Like, let's put our logical thinking caps on for a second. If we know Jezreel existed in that time period, and it's in that area where all these other cities are, all these cities are being laid to waste. Jezreel is right there. Why wouldn't it be Jezreel? Now, I could be wrong. Maybe Israel did somehow like magically just stay hidden for so long, and even Herodotus in the 6th century or 5th century BCE doesn't even know who they are. Let's just is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. You can have a city state that no one knows about for 500 years. I guess. I don't know if it's likely though.